Welcome back to my channel. In today's video I wanted to show you guys how I achieved this really simple, easy brown smoky eye. This is the look that I always go to when I haven't got time to do anything too extravagant. Okay, I always start by brushing my brow hairs. I grabbed a disposable mascara wand, I carry loads in my kit ready for my clients, and I brush them in the direction that I want the hairs to go. I then grabbed my Morphe 166 angled eyeliner brush that happens to be perfect for eyebrows, and my Anastasia Beverly Hill dipbrow in dark brown, and began to fill in my eyebrows. Anastasia is known for being the queen of brows. That's the only product that I use on my eyebrows or any of my clients. It's waterproof and smudge proof, and it can give you the perfect defined look. However, if you're looking for more of a natural brow, then I'd recommend getting the brow definer. I go between that and the pomade all the time. Begin by applying the product in the centre of the eyebrow and work it towards the end of the towel. And try to ignore my twitchy eye. I am by far the sleepiest person I know. I literally get 10 hours sleep every night and I still don't know why I've got it. It's so annoying. It's only once the product has left my brush that I begin to touch the inner part of the brow. And even then I'm using tiny brush-like strokes and the pressure is really light. It doesn't matter if your eyebrows don't turn out perfect the first time, mine rarely do. What I do is I grab some concealer and I clean them up that way. Concealer is like the eraser but for the makeup world. Grabbing the Zoeva 322 brown line brush and LA Girl Pro Concealer, I can't remember the exact colour but I will link it below, I began to carve out the brows underneath. This is how you get the really defined snatched brow look. As you can see that after I've outlined them, I'm starting to drag the product down onto my eyelid. This will make it easier to blend and to get rid of any harsh lines. I next grabbed my Zoeva 142 concealer brush, which is by far one of my favourite brushes that I have. I literally couldn't do my job without it, and I began to buff the concealer into my eye. I then grabbed some translucent powder. The one that I've been using lately is the Rcma No Colour Powder. It's so cheap, I think it's £10 and you get so much more product. There's no real technique to this bit. I just grab my 228 Luxe Crease Brush by Zoeva and I begin to pat in all of the translucent powder. I'm just tapping over my eyelid to make sure that it's not tacky. This is important because if it was tacky then the eyeshadow that we go to put on next wouldn't blend as nicely as we'd like it to. Now I always start by doing my brow bone and inner corner highlight to begin with before I do my eyeshadow. I grabbed my 230 Zoeva pencil brush and I started to pat the product in. I love to use Makeup Geek Shimma as I find it the perfect highlight on the eye. All the colours that I've used today for this eye are all from Makeup Geek. These are my holy grail products and as you can see I use these so much. I'm now grabbing my Sigma E40 brush and Makeup Geek's Creme Brulee and I'm starting to buff this into my upper crease. This shade is the perfect transition shade, it makes all the other colours blend seamlessly. Next I'm going to grab frappe on the same brush that we just used and we start to build up that crease even more. Starting with small circular motions on the outer corner of my eye, and once the product has started to leave the brush then I can start to work it into the inner corner of the eye. I switched to my Morphe M330, which is similar to the brush that we just used but it's a little bit more tapered, which means we can get into that crease and define it more. I take Makeup Geek's Tan Lines, which is the prettiest shade ever, on that brush and I start to buff this into the crease like the other shades, but be careful not to go too high. We want all these darker shadows to stay nice and low. Be mindful that when you pack on the colour, to get the most colour payoff, you need to do little tapping motions. As you can see, when I swipe, that's when you take the product away. After that, I've taken my favourite gel liner, which is by Maybeline, and the brush that I use for my eyebrows after I've cleaned it off in a little bit of IPA, and I start to do my winged liner. The easiest way that I've found to do winged liner is by pulling at the skin at the side of my eye, try not to be too rough with it, and drag from the outer corner of the eye outward to the length that you want your wing to be. Then I turn my brush over and I drag back to the centre of the eye, getting the straight edge that we want. Once I'm happy with how my wing looks, I then start to build up the colour in the waterline. I like to wiggle my brush where the lower lash hairs grow, just so we can get that really black edge underneath. Now taking Urban Decay's Bad Girl Mascara, I start to coat my lashes. I'm not too worried about how they look because I know that I'm going to stick a nice pair of false lashes over the top. The eyelashes that I've chosen to wear today are by Ardell and they're the 113 Glamour Lash. I take those and my Duo lash glue, which is by far the stickiest, most durable lash glue on the market in my opinion, and I apply that to the lash band. Once the glue's on, I just set them aside for 5 minutes just so they can get extra tacky. I find this a much easier method to apply them. To prepare under my eye for eyeshadow, I take the same concealer and brush that we used on top of the lid and I start to work this in, again being careful to set it so it's not tacky after. Then I just had to clean up that wing because it was looking a hot mess. To apply the eyelashes, I like to look down into a mirror so we can see more what's going on. I apply the lash to the centre, I then apply the outer corner, and once that's done, then the inner corner. Sometimes I find that when using a white eyelash glue that it doesn't always dry totally clear, so I go back in with the eyeliner and I just darken that a bit more. I'm grabbing my Sigma definer brush, but any short flat brush you have will do, and Makeup Geek's Americano, and I'm starting to work this into my lower lash line just underneath where the black is to blend those two colours together. Then I swap the brush for an E20 short shader brush, again by Sigma, and Makeup Geek's Coco Bear, and I start to work this in underneath as well. This is basically mimicking what we done on top of the eye but underneath. I switch to my Zoeva brush, I can't remember the name exactly but I will link it below, and I start to diffuse the edges even more with frappe. This gives that perfect blown out smoky eye effect that I love. Intensify that inner corner highlight again and give the bottom lashes a good coat of mascara and we're done. Moving on to the face, I take my NYX Pore Filler Primer and I start to push this into my skin. I like to concentrate my primer on my T-zone as this is where I feel I need the most help. For foundation, I use the Makeup Forever Ultra Stick in 365. This is my favourite foundation of all time. I use this on all my clients as well. It gives the perfect airbrush finish. And the Morphe M439 foundation brush. I'm taking the brow line brush again and the foundation that we just used and I start to carve out my brows on top. Next step's contouring. I like to use the LA Girl Pro Concealer in Toast. This is so cheap, I think it's like £5 from Beauty Bay. If I don't contour, I feel like I've got the roundest like moon shaped head going. I apply this to the sides of my cheek, forehead, contour my nose and under my lip to give me a little bit more definition to look like I've got fuller lips. To blend my nose contour in, I like to use my ring finger, but for the rest of the face I take my Real Techniques brush and I start to buff this into the skin. I find that the Makeup Forever foundation is so perfect for when working with contour as it's so creamy, so the colours just blend into each other perfectly. Although I do always get to the point where I proper shit myself and I think fuck, this contour ain't blending, but keep persevering with it, it does work out alright. I do like to go back in with that foundation brush that I've just used with no extra product left on it and go over all the contouring that I've just done just to dull it down a little bit. Next for highlighting I take the LA Girl Pro Concealer in Ivory. I like to put this in little triangles under my eyes, on my forehead, the bridge of my nose, cupid bow and cheek. Basically all the high points of your face that you want to be brought forward. Then taking a damp Real Techniques sponge and some MAC setting spray, I spray my face, then blend all the concealer in. My favourite brush for setting my face is the F35 Sigma Tapered Highlight Brush. What I do is I set the areas that get a little bit more oily first, like my T-zone and under my eyes, and then after I've done that I just dust the powder lightly all over my face. The shade Nutmeg from the Anastasia Beverly Hills Pro Contour Kit in medium to tan I find is the perfect bronzing colour. I start by applying this to my cheekbones and then blend it into the perimeter of my face. For blush lately I've been loving the Spectrum Coral palette by Zoeva, and I grab the pinky peach tone and I apply this to the high points of my cheekbones and work this down to the apples of my cheek. These sponges have a straight edge to them, so I find this perfect when baking under your contour. Then I take MAC's Gold Dust highlighter and I start to put this on the contour. Be careful with this highlighter though, because it is quite dark, so if you've got the same skin tone as me, this may be too dark to use as a highlighter, but for the contour it's fine to give you that extra glow. Then for the best bit, which is the highlight, I take my Morphe M310 fan brush, I spray it with some MAC Fix Plus just to get it a little bit damp so we get more colour payoff, and MAC Soft and Gentle, and apply this to the high points of my cheek. Then for lips, I take MAC Chicory Lip Liner. I think that's how you say it, but if not, let me know. And I start to overline my lips, making them appear fuller and more voluptuous. Then I applied MAC Frost Sandy B lipstick. Then I grab a Kiko Lipgloss. I actually found this in the sale, it was £2.50, I must have grabbed every shade they do, it's so good and it's not sticky at all, and I applied this directly over the lipstick. Now as I'm a messy makeup artist, I always need to grab my concealer on that same definer brush and clean up all my lipstick, like I did the eyes and the brows, just to get them looking perfect. And this is the finished look! Thank you all so much for watching my second YouTube video. I had so much fun creating this look for you. From my channel you can expect lots of body painting as well as regular glam makeup. I hope you enjoyed my video, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.